Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cults to Consciousness. I'm Shelise and I'm joined by the famous Amanda Rae.
Hi.
Look who is here in studio. She's staying with us, and it's pretty awesome. Visiting LA. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, so today we wanted to discuss what it was like on the show Escaping Polygamy. It seems like whenever we have you on the channel, everyone was like, tell us more about the show, because we have a lot of fans who watch the show. So I wanted to get into some of the deep dives, the stuff that maybe didn't air, the stuff that you were maybe frustrated with, things that everyone wants to know about the show. And then, guys, if you're watching, if you have special questions, drop those in the comments. Jonathan's at home with baby moderating. He will be pulling those questions for us. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Amanda's channel. So I didn't even do an intro because I just assumed everyone knew who you were. So if you don't know who Amanda Rae is, you should. She is from the Order, the Kingston Clan, which is a fundamentalist branch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is a polygamous branch, and it's, in my opinion, one of the more problematic ones because we're marrying sisters.
Incest, yeah.
Yeah, and they control all of your money. They have, like, their own banking system. It's very insulated, even though they live amongst the, quote, regular people, worldly people. So we've done a bunch of videos with Amanda all about the Order. We're going to be doing more videos. In fact, if you have something that you're most interested in and you want to see us cover it, also let us know in the comments, because we're going to be filming that while she's here with us. So if you haven't subscribed to her channel already, her @ is Amanda Loves Rachel, who's in town too, and we're trying to get an episode. We're trying to get an episode with her. So go over to Amanda's channel and subscribe. And we are doing a live on her channel immediately after this. So if you want to stay tuned for that, just don't move. When this live is over, you will automatically be redirected by YouTube to her channel, where we're going to be discussing the problematic issues of men versus women and how they are treated within the church. So, that was a mouthful. Thanks for sticking with it. Thanks. So, let's just get right into it. Tell us about what the show is if you've never seen it before.
Okay, to describe it to someone who's never seen it before, it was called Escaping Polygamy. We had about 4 seasons. And what you would see is me and my cousins were like the main girls that would help other people from polygamous groups kind of escape. So we helped people from the FLDS escape. We helped my own sister who's here. We helped her escape on the show. So you get to watch each episode, someone trying to escape or someone struggling, like battling with the brainwashing and the deconstructing. You see the ups and downs. So you'll see people leaving and, having drug addictions and trying to, face life out here with no family, which is a struggle. And then some people sadly go back, like including my mom. My mom, she left, and it was so... it was amazing to have her back and to feel like you have your family again, but to some of these people who leave, they're so indoctrinated and they don't know how to function after it's been so long. So she ended up going back, and that was on the show.
And wouldn't you say in your mom's case that also once you leave, you are ostracized from your entire family? And she had a lot of kids and some were still in, right? So that would mean cutting ties with her own children? Yeah,
well, so on the show, it was so interesting to me to watch her do this, because it was like she was afraid of her own son. She took all of her kids but one son because he was so indoctrinated, and she was afraid to even tell him that she was leaving.
Oh.
Yeah. So she did get to have all of her kids, but she had to leave my dad, and then that son was left too, because I think, and this is just my opinion, I think that she knew that if she talked to that son, he would convince her to stay. So she knew that she had to go. But, yeah.
Was he one of the older ones?
So me, my older sister, my younger sister Rachel, my younger brother Eskel all left, and he would be the one right after. So he would be the oldest that stayed in that family.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. And she's the second wife.
Right. So my mom would be the second wife of 3. The first wife was my mom's older sister. So that's another so when she left too, my dad and the older sister, which is the first wife, went and tried to find her. And they were saying things like, and this is what you don't see on the show, because you can't have cameras following you your whole day of every single day of your life. But after she left, they found out where she was at, and they were telling her that they had dreams and dreams is a very big premonition from God thing. They told her that they kept having dreams that one of her daughters was going to die, her young daughters. and they were telling her like descriptive details of how she was dying in the dreams. Can you imagine?
The manipulation.
Yep. And of course, on top of that, she's like, oh, it's not just me going to hell if I leave. Now I'm bringing all my kids to hell. If you're still brainwashed, right?
Yeah. How long did it take her to go back?
It was only like 6 months.
Okay.
And she didn't even tell me.
She went back?
Yeah, I had no idea until she was like already back in the order. I was like, wow, all of this.
So what was it like when she went back to the order? So this is all the stuff that we obviously didn't see on the show. When she went back to the order, was she welcomed with open arms? Were they upset with her? What was that like for her, do you know?
There's a very negative, like shameful association to the name Grant now. Because my last name's Grant.
Because she left.
Because I left too, but because the mom left and then came back, there's this whole thing that's going around the order that's like, oh, no one should be marrying any of the Grant boys, and yeah, they're kind of bullied for it, for sure. Anyone who goes on the show is bullied for it. There's a few that have gone on and went back, and they're shamed for it, for sure.
So the siblings who she took with her, and then did they also go back with her, or they stayed out?
No, they went back with her, because I think all of them were minors at the time, yeah. So they all had to go back with their mom.
Okay, so then in that case, they were punished for being taken out. And
Yep.
Socially punished.
To be honest, though, I think it is a positive thing in the long run. It's better to have these kids be a little bit exposed and then see what these so-called family are going to do.
How they're treating them.
Exactly. It sucks, though, because it's like here they are getting bullied and shamed just for having the last name Grant. But if they use their critical thinking, they'll realize it's the church. It's God's chosen place that's bullying them.
So what do they think about you and what you're doing then? I'm apostate sister.
I am the worst. My mom said this when I left the order. She was like, why do you have to do everything with a bang, Amanda? You have to go out with a bang. And it's because, like, usually when people leave, they, like, burn the bridge down. But for me, it was like I blew up the bridge. And there was no way of, like, reconciling. But I wanted to. I was like, there's no way you're going to be able to convince me to come back. And I was so quick to go on the show. I was like, I'm totally fine with burning this place to the ground with me, because it was I just felt like it was so unfair what they were doing to not just me, all the young women. It wasn't like, oh, poor me. It was like I saw my little 15-year-old best friend get married to an overage guy. Like this was happening all the time, but I'm the one being, the bad guy because I want to get away.
Yeah.
So when I went on the show, there was a lot of hate, for sure. But it didn't stop me. If anything, I feel like the hate has been more fuel to be like, oh, it's working. It's working. They're listening.
Yeah, right. They wouldn't be upset if you weren't saying something that wasn't true.
Yeah. They wouldn't be so triggered. They don't
want to be exposed. I mean, they would be upset if you were saying lies. But I think it's very interesting to see their responses. And even with some of the videos that we've done, when we've had on some of your family members and cousins and such, I think the only time YouTube gave us a strike was for saying someone's name, and it was someone from the order that was like, you have to take my name off that video. And it was like just a casual in-passing situation. And so I think it's interesting that they're watching, they're paying attention, and they don't want to be called out like that.
It's interesting. I wonder whose name it was.
Well, I can't tell you, or else we'd have to take it out again.
Because I went on Mormon Stories, and he was openly saying one of the numbered man's names that reached out to him. And I was like, I don't know if you want to say his name. And he's like, well, it really happened. It's the truth. And I was like, okay.
We'll tell you off camera.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Then we'll come out next year with the behind the scenes of of this episode.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're not familiar with Amanda's channel, that's what she does, is continue to try and take down the order by exposing all the things that are going on. I mean, we're talking about illegal things, tax evasion, stealing money from the government. We're talking...
I do want to kind of... I know what you're saying, but order people are going to be like...
Allegedly.
Order people are going to be like, Amanda's just trying to destroy the order, da-da-da. At the end of the day, I don't want to be like, the order needs to cease to exist. It's mostly... I just don't want any more abuse.
Yeah.
And the order is like 90% abuse.
Yeah.
So if we can stop the corruption and the abuse, you guys can keep your church. But you guys are so adamant on the incest and the abuse and the underage marriage and the brainwashing that I'm a hater now towards the order.
So, okay, here's a question then. And Jonathan said my mic is quiet. I'm going to fix this while you answer it.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible for the order to exist without all of the abuses, the free labor, the child abuse, the way that they control people, the money laundering, not money laundering.
You know what they would be called? The
What?
Mormon Church.
Oh my God.
Or at least they would be more like the Mormon Church.
Oh my gosh, keep talking.
So, yeah, let's say if they got rid of the polygamy, then you'd have to also get rid of the incest. You have to also get rid of the child abuse. And then you'd have a church that's basically Christian, right? That believes in, I guess, three degrees of heaven.
Okay.
And more modest rules and the what are some other things? Consecration. But in a sense, consecration, the way that they live it is also taking advantage too.
Yeah.
Because they're expecting the followers to give their all to the Lord, which is all to the leader.
Yeah. So the watered down version is tithing. Well, like with the Mormon church, it's only 10% of your income. And with the order, you basically give them all of your money, and then they decide what you can take back out.
Yeah, well, or
your dad decides.
Right. It's really frowned upon to have access to your own money or to have your own bank account outside of the church. Mm-hmm. You can't have your own properties. Your properties need to be in the name of the Lord. And if you have a business that has become successful, then they also want to take ownership of that as well. Mm. And I don't know if that's because because they're money hungry, but I think the second part is they don't want you to be able to take care of yourself on the outside. They really have built this society to where you're trapped in.
Yeah.
Right? So that is an interesting question. Like, could the order exist if there was no abuse, incest, all these other things? And I guess it wouldn't really be the order, would it? It wouldn't be the Lord's work, right?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so, sorry, I took us on a tangent. So what are some other things that were not aired that you feel like should have been on the show?
I think that there's actually a very interesting fact that not a lot of people know. There was an original producer before the producers that are well known of Escaping Polygamy now. There was an original producer from California that had came from a cult, so she was really passionate about this project. Uh-huh. Have you ever heard this?
No.
No, so she was really cool, and I really connected with her and bonded with her. But on like one of the very first pilot episodes, she had like broke down because it was too close to home for her.
Oh, maybe she hadn't deprogrammed enough.
Maybe.
Or just, I don't know. I mean, triggers are triggers.
Yeah.
So
it was really hard for her to watch the stuff that we were talking about and the stuff that we were going through. And it was triggering stuff in her. So she had to leave the show. And sometimes I wish she could have stayed because she totally could have, we connected so well and she could have understood how to handle victims of this. Because the next producers were so much less familiar with it. Mm-hmm. So they're like, I don't understand why she's crying, you know? Like there were certain moments where they didn't get why it was so hard for us, if that makes sense.
Let's talk about that, the delicacy or indelicacy of the way that things were handled, because that's something that I always try really, really, really hard on this channel to do, is make sure that the guest feels comfortable and safe. Mm-hmm. From my experience, which, I mean, even my childhood is, I know we shouldn't compare trauma, but it's really nothing compared to the things that I hear about with my guests. But I always try and bring this knowledge of, I'm not trying to have you tell me your deepest, darkest secret so that I can point and laugh at you. Like, I want to be here for you and help you talk about it and work through it and become empowered by it. And so it's really, really hard talking to someone who doesn't understand at all cult manipulation or religious trauma or abuse or anything. So what was that like, having producers trying to get things out of you in a way that was for TV?
Yeah, because there's an obvious difference with this dynamic is like you understand it and you're trying to create this space for it, which I feel like these producers tried as much as they could, but they also, it was very apparent that they had A&E and the network in their ear. Like we need to get, and we were told this, like we need to get X amount of escapes per year.
Really?
And I was like, we can't promise you that. Yeah,
these are people's lives.
I'm not going to go over and be like, hey, I know you're like going through a crisis, losing your family right now, but we got some deadlines over here.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so there was times where it was stressful because they understand and they don't want to be like pressuring us, but they are also trying to, please the network. Mm-hmm. They didn't have full, and I understand this too, they didn't have full control. And when I was younger, I was like, you guys have control, because I was just from out of cult. So I'm like, why are you guys saying this? Then push the dates back, da-da-da-da. And they're like, we're also underneath someone else.
Yeah.
So
they had bosses to answer to.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do think that there was times where I was like, felt a little bit stepped on because I had just came from a cult and I'm still deconstructing, but I'm so used to like listening to authority. And there were times where I felt like they saw that and they used it against me. But then there's also times where I'm like, maybe I just didn't know how to speak up for myself at that time. And it was a very vulnerable place that I was at. And I was just like running like ragged, you know?
Yeah.
But then there's also too, you feel so obligated to help these people leave because you were so alone. So when you hear someone's calling for help, yeah. So you're like running to the rescue.
Yeah.
But then again, like when I look back, I'm like, I was 18.
I was just going to say, let's talk about the Amanda before and the Amanda now, because you're clearly a powerful woman now. You were a force. She's a force, guys.
10 years, yeah. This 10 years since the pilot of Escaping Polygamy. And remember, I got married on Escaping Polygamy.
Yeah.
I was still trying to learn how to cope with not having family. And then on top of that, I'm like filming this show, like trying to run around and be someone else's hero when I can't even be my own hero.
Yeah.
So it was a struggle. And then on top of that, now that I'm on the show, which I don't regret the show ever, but at that time, I was getting so much more hate from my own family and ridicule. And again, I'm an 18-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And there's these 40-year-old men like slut shaming me and all kinds of stuff to the group.
What?
But it was to taint, and this is again, it was working. What I was doing was working, so they had to taint my name so that I was not trustworthy.
So no one would believe you.
Right, exactly.
Of course.
So at that time, though, I was like, oh my gosh, why are they being so mean? But in hindsight, it's like, it's because you were threatening a lot of people's membership by showing so much of the truth.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about, too, before Escaping Polygamy, when I was in the order, there was no TV show to show, like, what really happened after they left. It was just, everyone told us, like, oh, she's on drugs, she's in the streets, don't even look her up, don't even try to contact her because she's going to lie to you and manipulate you. So then you're like, yeah, well, that's all we know.
Yeah.
Then come to find out, like, they're really strong women out here. Like, for example, I don't know if you ever heard the story of when David O. Kingston went to prison. I think I told you about this. He went to prison for raping his niece, underage niece. Yeah, so when she stood up against him and she got abused by her dad, she put both of them in jail. Then had to leave, obviously, because that's against the church to tell on your predator. And so we were fed this completely different version of the story, that she was just a defiant little girl that was getting drunk all the time, and her own friends are the ones that beat her up, her outside friends, like no accountability on these men. And that David O. Kingston went to prison for something completely different. Like, I remember, like, thinking that she was a terrible person because those were the lies that we were fed. And we also had no way of knowing what actually happened. Yeah. She had no platform. We had no way of seeing the truth.
Yeah.
And that's the way they wanted it.
So when did you find the truth?
After leaving. After leaving and being out for, I think it was like, so when I was in there, I started to question it because someone told me to Google the news report.
Oh, so you could see like the actual court documents and stuff?
Yeah, so I Googled it.
Yeah.
And of course they're just going to say it's all lies. But then you're sitting there like questioning, like, how do I get this information that's the truth when I'm surrounded by all these liars?
Right.
So I only got the truth after leaving and actually talking to like the sisters. And then luckily, Escaping Polygamy, which is why I'm so grateful for the show, they did an episode interviewing her.
I was going to say,
her true
have
story.
You ever talked to her?
Yeah, you can see the episode, I think it was on season 1, where her sister Melanie leaves and gets to go meet her in real life. So
that's so awesome.
That was a really impactful episode for sure. And I think that episode alone probably helped so many order people see the truth.
Yeah.
Because now you have this and you're like, okay, so why would she be lying?
Yeah.
You know? And you have to question if the leadership is lying or if she's lying, which some of them will just be like, oh, she's still lying, you know, because they don't want to believe that their whole world is crumbling.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you had her on your show yet?
No, I think she's a little more of a private person. And probably because she was one of the first ones to stand up, so she probably got the most hate.
Yeah.
So and this is just my perspective of her. She seems very happy with her new life now.
It's been 10 years though, right?
Longer than that. She left before I was even like, I want to say I was like 5. I was so young. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Maybe she'll talk to us.
Yeah. If anyone wants to reach out to her, I hope she knows how much of an inspiration she is. I think she has to at this point, because so many of us looked up to her. I'm not even in that family, and I was like, good for her.
Yeah, so speaking of cause and effect of the show, what are some things that happened later, I guess, where someone may have come to you and said, I saw Escaping Polygamy, realized I was being lied to, and these were the after effects of the show, the positive things?
I think that there was a lot of positive in people ending up leaving on their own watching it, but I think that, I don't know, this is the sad part of the show, is that because of the show, and remember how I was saying the Grant last name got dragged through the mud, and so they really, at least in the order, I don't know if FLDS was similar, probably, they dragged these people's names through the mud so bad, the ones that stood up publicly and tried to stand up for themselves, they made sure to drag them through the mud in the group so that they could use them as an example, make an example out of them. So if anything, it almost seemed like it was harder to get people to want to go on the show. Okay. So people did leave and was inspired by it, but I think that they got so scared to be on the show because they're like, well, I don't want to be, like, I'll leave and I know my family's going to hate me, but at least they won't hate me as bad as if I went on the show.
Right.
I don't know. It's and sometimes I wonder if that's partially why we couldn't, like, continue the show because of that. But, yeah, I do think that the show has inspired way more than just, I thought it was really going to inspire just cult members, but it echoed on to people with religious trauma, people with not even from religious trauma, but realizing, I've had people comment like, I am not even from a cult, but my parents are just like your parents. Yeah. How is that possible? And it's just the traits of being toxic or narcissistic parents or abusive parents. And so to be able to see someone publicly talk about it and I guess kind of like dissect it in a way that they weren't able to, it helps them to process and move on. I don't know.
Do you know if they're still airing it in syndication, or can you only stream it now?
I'll randomly get comments of people from like Australia and other countries saying, I just saw you on TV. But it's funny because here it's like on A&E, but over there it's on the crime channel. Like it's on like where the
crime channel.
Isn't that interesting?
It makes sense. It's fitting.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people don't want to believe that it happens in America, because one of the number one comments I got when we were filming was, this is all fabricated. This doesn't actually happen in America. And I was like, you're going to tell me that what I saw my whole life was a lie.
Yikes.
And there was some stuff that they didn't air. And I asked them, I was like, why didn't you air this? This is such good information. And they were like, we don't want to be that dark. I was like, are you serious?
Wait, Amanda, give us the tea. What are things that were too dark for TV?
So if anyone remembers the episode that Joe Robinson was on, there was a scene where, and this is going to get a little graphic. Is this the camera I'm supposed to be looking at, by the way?
This one.
Okay, because I keep, like, looking at which camera. Sorry if you guys are like, what is she looking at? So he was on this episode of Escaping Polygamy, and his story was very traumatic, but it was also so important for us to hear because it was so impactful. But his mom had died of cancer, and he talks in depth about the procedures that they tried to do, at-home remedies on her before she passed away. And it was obvious that those at-home remedies weren't going to work. For us, what? It's obvious. So one of the things that they said was that they had pulled the blood out of her, boiled it, and tried to put it back.
Ooh, that doesn't sound safe.
Exactly. And so when I saw that clip. I physically saw him talking about that clip, and I saw them editing it because we had flown to Tennessee to see the whole area, and that specific clip I was like, this is going to change a lot. There was other things that he said too, but I think that they just decided to cut the whole thing because they were like, we don't want it to be too morbid, or maybe they didn't want to get sued. I don't know, but to me I was like, I feel like we need to be talking about this stuff. We need to get to the deeper parts of it. And then obviously stuff that I've talked about that they cut, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. But
like what?
Sometimes
I'm trying to get you guys the details.
Honestly, sometimes I think it was just that they thought I sounded kind of stupid. But I think that could have been good to be like, this girl is so young and brainwashed and
maybe a little naive.
Yeah, naive.
To the real world.
But they would just tell me, instead of using this word, can you use this word instead? And I would literally be like, what does that word mean? I don't even know what that word means. And I kind of wish they would have left those all interactions in there.
Yeah. I feel like they would have done that now. So whenever I see cult documentaries now, they show some of the behind-the-scenes stuff where people are asking questions or can I say this? And I think it makes it more real and raw. I think if they would have made that show today, it would have been more like that. And it would have been darker, and it probably would have been on HBO.
Yeah. And so looking back, I'm like, I think that it would have been so healthy to even be like, yeah, this is the reality of it, instead of, and maybe they were trying to protect us from looking stupid, but also it's like, that's the truth though. Like one scene, I was talking to Jessica and we were like trying to figure out, I meant to say like escape route, but I thought scapegoat was the same thing. So
you gotta find a scapegoat.
Yeah, I'm like, Jessica, we need a scapegoat. And she starts laughing. And I was like, what? She's like, you're going to want to say that line again. But it was like stuff like that it was like, I don't know. There was so much that could have been exposed a little bit more. And one scene specifically, and this is too, like, I don't know fully what a network's brain or A&E was thinking to cut this and put that. And I know they have a whole vision and you can't keep every single piece of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wondered why this scene was cut and why that one, you know? But so on Esco's escape, this scene was cut where he was, you can see it on the episode where he's on the phone with my mom. She calls him and she's crying. She's like, you're really going to do this to me, basically? Like, you're
I remember
leaving.
that scene.
Yeah. But what they cut was, she says, please don't be like your sisters and not be in a religion. Like, don't shy away. Don't lose God and be like your sisters. And his response was, I won't be like them. In front of me. He says it in front of me. And this, I was like, you should have kept that in there, because this is a really good example of, he also had his doubts about me. He didn't want to be like the bad Amanda, even though he was reaching out in desperation to hang on to my hand and hope that I was going to help him.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? And it also is another side of, we're going to be talking about this on my channel, the fact that how my mom would, or most people in these cults demonize the women, but then somehow they don't do the same hate towards the man when they're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, she was so sad that he left, and she was so like, oh, please this, please that. But when I left, she was like, okay, bye. Like, don't let the door hit you on the way out, you know?
No. Oh, geez. And Eskel now has his own channel. Is he still doing videos over there?
I think he's taken a break because he's in Idaho now. He doesn't even live in Utah anymore, and he's working on his own stuff right now. But I'm trying to get him to come back on my channel and hang out over there. Yeah. But yeah, I did tell him, I was like, later on, I was like, remember when you did that? And you said, oh, Mom, I'm not going to end up like Amanda. Like, why did you say that? What did you mean?
And he did, didn't he?
I know. Part of me wonders if that's why he, like, and I've asked him that too. I was like, is that why you were so clinging to the LDS church? Is because you didn't want to let Mom down or have Mom be disappointed in you?
Because he went to mainstream Mormonism after.
Yeah, and then he went on a mission.
Yeah.
Like, he was a LDS boy.
Yeah.
But and now he's fallen. No, I don't want to say fallen away from it. Found the light. That's a better word.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, let's talk about some of the production things. So I've lived in LA for 12 years now, and I do wardrobe for TV commercials, that type of thing. And so I see the behind the scenes, and I've acted as well. So I know there's definitely a lot of say that again, or like I've even been on reality shows where this is just like a random example, and then I want to see if you have anything similar. It was like this Survivor show called 72 Hours in Fiji, and it was this whole like epic Survivor meets Amazing Race kind of show. We were dropped out of helicopters into the ocean of Fiji, and then we're supposed to like swim to this island. We were taken on jet skis to the island, and then the guy comes over and he's like, and now you have 72 hours with 1 bottle of water, 1 GPS, and 3 teammates who are complete strangers to find this briefcase of $100,000. And then it gets taken away, and he's like, and go! We like swim across to the other island. We start running, and then they're like, all right, cut. It's a little late because we had to do the helicopter drops so late. So we're just going to like go back to camp, and we'll come back in the morning and start this up. I'm all, what? Mm-hmm. What do you mean we're going to start over? Like, I was running. I was ready to go. So movie magic. Some stuff is reality. Some really isn't. It's like, take 2, do it again. So what are some of those examples from the show that you can remember?
Yeah, definitely what I was saying, like the different lines and stuff. They would say, can you say this? Can you say that? Or can you say that again? But I will say that with escapes and helping people come out of these cults, you get one take. You can't say, hey, can you go back in your room where right next to your sleeping dad and redo that scene? Yeah. You can't. So a lot of the escapes were like that was all the footage we had. Mm-hmm. There was I think that there was one pilot episode. I can't remember which episode it was, but it was never supposed to air. It was to sell the show to the network.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was reenacted just to kind of show the network. They ended up using that as an episode.
Oh.
Yeah. And so then there was a lot of order people saying, oh, the whole thing is fake.
Right.
Because they knew that the specific thing that they were filming happened like years ago.
Right.
But they were reenacting it to kind of show the producers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. To sell it. That's tricky.
And I never wanted to like ever say that anything was fake or anything like that. And I found that out a little bit later. Didn't want to expose any of that because I'm like, I don't want to discredit any of the show because all of this, at least the stuff that I saw, like my sister leaving out the window, my little brother crying because he's leaving, like, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, this one clip in the pilot was wrong, so then now you have to discredit the whole thing, you know? But I don't know.
But they did try to heighten emotions, right?
Oh, yeah. There was definitely moments where you'd be sitting in the interview chair, which I don't think that, I never knew that this is how it was going to work out. But they would sit me in a chair. And to me, it was traumatic because I hadn't gone to like a lot of therapy at the time.
Yeah.
And they sit you in this chair. And sometimes you're in that interview chair talking about your trauma for like 4+ hours. So afterwards, I would literally go home and stare at the ceiling for like hours.
Oh my God.
But there would be moments where, and I'm sure that the network was like, we want to see someone cry because we get more views if they're crying, you know?
Yeah.
So there were moments where I kind of figured out what they were doing. Like they would say, and how does this make you feel? And they'd want you to get deeper and deeper into that emotion so that hopefully you'll cry. And I got really mad at the producer. I was like, I'm not going to, can I swear?
Yeah.
I'm not going to fucking cry, okay, if that's what you want. And then I had to go take a break and cry in the bathroom. Because I didn't want to. And I felt like I was being backed into a corner. But it was also like, you know, they want you to get your whole story out there. And I guess the emotion makes it more real.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe they're trying to help you tell your story, but like little 18-year-old man, I was like pissed. I was mad. I'm like, why are you trying to make me tell the same story over and over and make me like uncomfortable?
They probably needed, and tell me if you think this would have made it better, someone asking the questions who was maybe trained in therapy or was more of a safe person like the producer who quit versus someone who is just like digging and digging and digging without any regard of your emotional state.
Yeah. And like we all did bond with these producers because I don't know, I feel like you naturally, when you come out of a cult and you have nobody and this person's like, you're sharing your deepest, darkest secrets too, a lot of us clinged to these producers. And I don't think that they were ready for that too. So it was a weird relationship where they would try to like be our friends and like give us advice and help us out. But it was such an unhealthy, weird relationship with us victims of abuse. Like, mommy, you know, like, and then they're over here like, we're trying to film a show, bitch, you know? So I don't hate their producers. I don't have any negativity. I'm still friends with them.
Yeah.
I have like good feelings towards them, but I also understand that like they didn't know how to handle these victims.
The dynamic was just awkward.
Yeah, and I sometimes really like don't like A&E because I'm like, you guys should have done better with finding someone that really could, like maybe a psychologist or someone
what I mean.
that So I'm not like sitting here like let's hate on all of them, but I'm like if you guys could have done it again, I guarantee they all would have done it differently.
So before we get to questions, I know this is one of the shows that everyone was like, why did it stop? Are you able to, and do you want to say why it didn't keep going?
I don't know how much I can say, but I do want to say there's not just one reason. Mm-hmm. I think there's multiple reasons. I think one is like we couldn't get a lot of escapes. It's hard to get people to want to talk about their biggest traumas on camera, and I think the show started to get a scary conductation, is that the word, with all these cult members. But then at the end of the day, we were offered another season. I don't know if I ever told you that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were offered another season, but I guess our demands, I don't know, I don't want to say too much. Our demands were too high for the producers.
Which were reasonable demands, if I'm
when I was telling her, she was like, that sounds like human rights. But when this is the thing I really love about all the girls on the show that I work with, like Jessica, Andrea, Chanel, Colleen, the 5 of us decided we're all in or we're all out.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
you can't get one of us. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And I think they would have tried to get one of us to
Yeah.
do whatever, but we all banded together and we agreed on what we wanted before we had the meeting with them. We told them that, and we let them think about it, and then they said no. So it was, I guess,
It was their
technically,
fault.
yeah. Technically,
And I can't wait to meet Jessica. She's coming to Costa
yeah.
Rica.
Hopefully you do an episode with Jessica. She's so...
I keep trying to. Jessica, if you're watching, we want to do an episode. We've asked her a few times, and she's like, let other people tell their stories, but maybe we'll get her on here.
Yeah. The show in as a whole was a great thing. It was such a positive thing, even for me, to be able to get to meet Jessica, too, and to have this bond with all of these women who had been out, because I was the most fresh out on the show. And I was able to be reconnected with people that had left and had been healing, rather than just being like out in the world doing, I don't even know what I would have been doing if the show didn't contact me.
Yeah.
So all in all, I'm grateful for the experience, but I definitely learned a lot about production.
Yeah. Movie
Yeah.
magic.
How would a cult kid know? You know, they're like, sign this, sign this, sign this, and I'm used to signing 10%
Well, how would
for them.
anyone
So I'm like,
know,
okay,
right?
signing my life away.
Yeah. Even for me, well, I guess I came from a cult, but not like yours, really. Even when I came out here, I was like, whoa, this is movie business is crazy. Okay, we're going to get to some questions. I can't really reach my computer. So, Jonathan, if you want to put them up on the screen for us.
Yeah, can you read them? Because I don't have my glasses on.
I'm curious if those who were the informants are still in or if they got out too. Right, we're going to talk about the informants.
Yeah. I asked this on Instagram, and this is a question that is asked every single time when I say, what do you want to know about escaping polygamy? They want to know who the insider was. But one, if the insider was still in, I wouldn't tell you guys who it was. But I really think that it was a cluster of people. There was multiple people in the order trying to expose their own kind because they didn't like it in there. Isn't that crazy? You would think it's just one person who's afraid who's going to be leaving, but there was multiple people willingly giving information out. So, Paul, if you're watching, your own group is rats on you. They don't even like
moles.
you.
You have moles in the system.
Which is great, though.
Yeah.
Like, to think, I think the show wanted to seem like one person because it seemed more dramatic, and also they didn't want to shed light on, I don't know, I think it would have been better for them to say that there was more.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know there was at least two, and they wouldn't even tell me who it was, but there was a time where they messed up our scheduling, and I ran into them on the way, and I was like, I didn't see you.
Really?
You didn't see me, I didn't see you. Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's definitely more than, I think there's definitely more than one, but there's got to be more than two.
Okay. So are they still in or are they out?
The ones that I know of, they're still in. Yeah.
Oh, so she can't say. Okay. Let's see, Nicole, so I'm trying to read from far away too. Who cares if the informer wasn't one specific person? It was a television show. They made them dramatize certain things. Doesn't mean the escapes weren't real.
Right. Yeah. And that was one thing that I think it was younger Amanda being afraid that if I ever said, yes, there was some stuff that was like, they made us re-say, or yes, there was this and that, I was scared that they're going to be like, see, the whole show's fake. And then the whole world would be like, oh, Amanda's dad's probably not even married to his half-sister. And I'd be like, but he is!
But he is, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Any more questions, Jonathan, that you want to put up on the screen? Ellie loved the show. I remember the one where you helped a young escape out of her window and you girls took off.
Probably my little sister, Rachel. That sounds like Rachel, her escape. Yeah,
Rachel, that's here, Rachel?
Yeah.
We're trying to get her on the show, guys.
She was so shy on the show. Like, I don't know if you saw her episode,
No.
but if you watch her episode and you've met her now, so different now.
That's another reason we want to talk to her.
Yes.
Before and after.
Is that Brooke?
Amanda, do not climb that window. If you could do anything different, what will it be?
According to the show? Or
yeah, maybe on the show, if you could have done something different.
I wish that I probably would have been doing more therapy. And there was moments that I didn't realize that I was being too much for the other person.
What do you mean?
I don't want to expose this person too much, but a specific girl who was on the show with me.
Okay.
I was so like traumatized, but I guess at the end of the day, like I was a traumatized little girl, so I can't really be like, I wish I was smarter because it was
Yeah.
it is what it is. But I wish I would have focused more on therapy and more on my growth and self development, because I think I could have helped the victims more if I was more progressed. But instead, there was times where I was kind of unloading on the other girls.
Sure.
I was sitting there like I would ask them their stories, because I'd be like, I'm trying to sift through what they told the lies they told me about you. So I'm trying to sift through and figure it out. Meanwhile, they're getting trauma hearing all the stuff that I said. These guys said you were a bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's helping me to dissect it. But in reality, they didn't need to hear all that stuff. They didn't need me to be like, well, they said that about this and da, 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 da. But it helped me, and it hurt them. I feel like it hurt them. They were nice, and they were like, well, I'm glad you told me that.
Well, it's a lot. I mean, like you said, you hadn't really deconstructed when you went on the show. And also, I don't think they would have expected anything different from you.
Yeah.
If they had been gone for so long and they knew what it was like, that process of deconstruction, I don't think they would have held it against you.
Yeah. I did apologize to there was a specific girl that I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that, like, I was kind of cornering you into telling me all of your whole escape story, when that's like technically none of my business. But she was so kind to me with it all. But also on the other side, like, if I would have been more healed, I think I could have helped my siblings live in a healthier way. I could have been a better support system to so many, but also I was struggling so much trying to like find my own self. And yeah, when you leave and you don't have money, you don't have family, you don't have support, it's so hard to realize, hey, the most important thing is to find yourself and to love yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing on your mind.
Yeah.
You're like, where am I going to get food? Where am I going to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel like you saw yourself grow and progress through the seasons?
Like, I think so.
More healed? Like, if you were to go back and watch, do you think you could see the progression?
I can't even watch the first season, because we did a watch party for the first episode, and we were all, I think it was at Jessica's adopted parents' house. We were all waiting to watch the first episode, and I was so excited. And then the second I came on the screen, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I look like that? It was such a weird self-realization. Yeah. I don't know if you've had that when you first started doing roles.
Yeah.
You're like, what? It's weird though, because you look in the mirror your whole life.
Yeah.
But seeing
camera angles.
Yeah. And how other people are perceiving you.
Yeah.
You're like, that's not what I meant.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So I almost walked out of the room when I was seeing myself. I was like, I cannot believe that not only me is gonna see this, but the world.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for it, because now that it's 10 years out, I can look back and be like, look how much I've grown.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to look, but I have.
Guys, don't look, but look how much she's grown.
Yeah. I saw this quote that was like, if you're not looking back and cringing at yourself, then people are probably cringing at you now. I'm like, that's probably true.
That's so funny. Yes. Oh, super chat. Thank you so much, Molly. Molly says, you have no idea how much your channel and your guests bring light to those in darkness. Oh, that's so great. I don't know if you're talking about mine or hers, but I appreciate you for saying that.
Yes,
thank you so much.
I'm always so grateful for comments like that.
Okay, Denise, thank you so much. Super sticker. Any more questions, Jonathan? Rachel won't come on. She always refuses our attention.
I know. And she's so like, she'll do some of my Patreon lives.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to get closer to that idea. But yeah, it's definitely something that's hard for her. I think the show was hard for her too.
We don't blame anyone for not wanting to come on and be public, because you're really public. You're very visible when you come on shows like ours. People are going to see it. And so I understand that level of vulnerability is something that not everyone wants to take on, and that's totally fine, but we still want to try and get her on.
Yeah. I think she's warming up to it for sure.
Yeah.
She knows too that it would be empowering for her.
Yeah.
Like it's something that will help her in the long run too. Like I've told her all the time, like, YouTube has helped me so much to grow as a person, and to see other people's perspectives of me, and to see things in a different view that I don't think I would have been able to have, you know, otherwise.
Yeah. Any other questions? The saddest episode I saw was the one with Lizzie. She was my oldest sister's best friend when I was little. Oh.
I believe Lizzie was the one. Was she the one that went back? Yeah. Sometimes there's actually a few episodes I haven't watched, because it's kind of hard to watch. Especially, it's like that producer, right? When it's so close to home, then you get too much trauma and you can't see it.
Yeah. So
I have to be in the right headspace to even watch that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. What happened to the cousin who who used you guys and the threat of escape to force the order to let her marry the guy she wanted?
Oh, Jennifer.
Oh, what happened to
We all know
Jennifer?
Jennifer. No, I actually really like Jennifer. I grew up with her. She's a little bit younger than me. She's Jessica's full sister.
Okay.
And they obviously were going to drop everything to help her because they were like excited to have a sibling again, and they wanted to it was hard though to hear them talk about how Jessica wants to introduce her as an aunt to her kids, but she doesn't want to introduce someone as family and then have them ripped away, kind of like what we went through, you know. But so she left, and then she ends up they bribe her with, okay, we'll let you marry your cousin that you like, because they were trying to get her to marry a different cousin. I don't know if they were like more related to her or whatever. So they bribed her and had her go back to him, and so she goes on the show, she leaves, and then she goes back to him. I don't think any of us have hate towards her for any of that. Like, this is her life, this is her choices, and I think that deep down she did want out, but that's all she ever knew. You know? And so she did really like that guy, and they used him to manipulate her to come back. And she was young too. I think she was only 17, 18 at the time.
I was going to ask how old she was.
Yeah. There's no way that she could be like this strong, smart, like knowing everything, especially with the lifestyle that she was given.
Yeah.
So we all hope the best for her. But I guarantee she wonders what would have happened if she would have stayed out.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people in the order, even if they haven't attempted to leave, they wonder all the time what it would be like to leave and if they're making the right decision staying.
Yeah, it's hard. You lose your community, you lose your family most of the time. Sometimes your job, sometimes your housing. It's a complete life change, which, by the way, if you are watching and you need help, Holding Out Help is a good resource, right?
Yeah, Holding Out Help, they always have a hotline you can call. And once you do leave, they can get you. Actually, I even know of some current cult members in FLDS and in the order that can have access to therapy. So you technically don't even have to have escaped. They can help you with getting access to the things that you deserve to be able to have access to.
Yeah, that's awesome. James wants to know, does Amanda have any contact with her mother or others still in the order, as much as you can say?
Yeah, I mean, people will reach out to me in the order a lot on Instagram, but it's very... Once someone finds out that they're contacting me, there's been so many times where I just never hear from them again. So, like, their husband will find out and then take away their Instagram or block me on their Instagram. And then there's been consistent people who have reached out to me, and then I won't hear from them for some months, and then they'll reach out again. And the hard part is, I had this question on my other live where I was trying to explain that dynamic. It's like, it's so hard to have a relationship with someone who's in this cult, in survival mode. It's always a one-way relationship. It's never going to be a friendship like this, right? It's a you use and abuse me, and I'm not going to get anything out of you, and I have to be mentally prepared for you to use and abuse me, if that makes sense. Does that
You're
sound...
kind of a stepping stone, it seems like.
Yeah, but it's not that they're like a terrible person. It's that when you're in survival mode, and I remember being that person too, when I was leaving, I was so in this like abuse cycle and like self-hate and like what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I don't even have the capacity to say, how are you?
Yeah.
I don't even care because I don't even know how I am.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that these order people are like, first of all, they don't even know if they can trust me. So they're going out on a limb to talk to me, and then they're getting scared. If I say one wrong word, it's a trigger for them. And I used to tiptoe. I used to be like, okay, I can't say hell. I can't say, oh my God. I can't say any of these things, or they're not going to trust me. I can't even joke about alcohol. I can't wear spaghetti straps.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm in the order again.
Yeah,
like, I'm not going to do this.
You don't need to conform.
Yeah, this is their triggers, and if they are too afraid to trust me, then that's on them.
Yeah.
So, and I said this too on my last live. It's there are people who want to leave, and they will fight, and they will get out, and they will do anything to get out, and they are determined to get out. And then there's people that don't know. They're like on the fence. And those ones will be like, maybe, okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I used to be dropping everything, like flying back to Utah to go help those maybe ones. And then they'll be there, and then all of a sudden I won't hear hear from them again.
What has
So,
the mental and emotional toll been for you with all
that
of this?
it's
Being the
hard.
hero for people.
It's so frustrating well, it used to be way more frustrating. Now that I have boundaries and I have to just tell myself, like, you don't deserve to be treated that way. Like, you don't, just because they're family doesn't mean that you leave this door swinging open, hitting you in the face whenever they want to approach you. My mom was like that too. When I first left, it was like she had rejected me and she was like, you can't come home for Christmas, don't show up at our house, da da da. And then a second that she would be like vulnerable and be like, hey, I need someone to talk to. I'm like, I'm there. I'm like quitting my job. I'm like, I'm ready to like jump at any second she says jump, because I don't want to lose my mom.
Yeah.
But that is not fair. It's not fair that, like, what about when I need a mother?
Yeah.
She's never there. But when she needs a shoulder to cry on, I'm there. Mm-hmm. So it's a very toxic relationship, a toxic style. But in order to even have a relationship with anyone in the order, it's like, it's not even a real relationship.
You just have to have lower expectations, or you have to expect to meet them where they were. We were just talking about this
meet them where
yesterday,
they're at, yep.
Where disappointment happens when you have expectations that go unmet.
Exactly.
And so if you can expect that it's going to be more of a one-way street, or expect that she's only going to be vulnerable when she needs something, then you're not really disappointed. But that's still so hard. I mean, that's your mom.
It hurts, yeah. But it's I've learned it's exactly what you say. If you just realize, just because I'm giving all this to her does not mean it's going to be returned.
Yeah.
So you need to be okay with, I'm giving this with no expectations of it coming back. So I've learned to live a life of that. Like, if I'm going to give you something, I'm not giving it with, and also that's like a truer form of love, in my opinion. Like, I'm giving this to you because I genuinely want to give this to you.
Yeah.
I don't feel drained giving this to you, and I don't want anything in return.
Well, that's what unconditional love is. Mm-hmm. It's giving without expectation of receiving. It's just, I love you no matter what. I love you if you do this, you do that. I love you because you're my mom. Or, I mean, obviously, if she's hurting you, you have every right to rescind that love. But you do have this unconditional emotional attachment to her, that you want to have this relationship. And I think that's probably what plays into your relationships, which we won't get into, but it's so easy for people to take advantage of people like us who are trying to always be that open arms person,
right,
and giving and seeing the best in people. And you have this idealistic approach, this they can change, or I can help them, and you want to be the hero, and you have been the hero to so many people, that I think sometimes that can cloud our judgment when we go into other relationships in the outside world, because we have these hopes and dreams and want to see the best in people.
Right. I think it also is like you take on too much responsibility. And like, I would take on guilt, like, well, maybe if I was there with my mom, because she had moved out of state when she left, I was like, maybe if I was there more, and if I would have just quit my job completely, and I would have lived there, then she wouldn't have gone back. But at the end of the day, the healthier place that I'm at now is finally letting go of what I cannot control. I can't control what she's going to do, and I can't be upset at what she's going to do. I can control how much I give and what I'm okay with giving, and being very aware and in tune with, I actually don't want to reach out to her right now because I can't handle that right now. I can't handle the rejection right now.
Yeah.
And then there's other days where I'm like, I'm full of love today. I don't know what it is, but I can handle it today.
Val is here. You girls are amazing.
Hello.
We love you, Val. We want you to come back on the show too.
Yes, we were talking a lot about you. I was talking to him, what was it, you or Rachel, saying that he's taught me so much about...
Yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, just being so like confidently and unapologetically himself.
Yeah,
and it has
Val.
really taught me to be that same way. Well, hopefully. I'm hoping to be more that way.
I still use his sugar scrub. It's the best. I don't know if you're still selling it, Val, but it's amazing and fabulous.
Yeah, I just got, did he ever, I don't know actually if he wants to tell it. There's a new product that's in the works that
New
he's working
product,
on.
Val.
And I got to be the guinea pig, and I love it. I'm wearing it right now, actually. So,
Ooh,
maybe.
Sarah, thank you so much. You are my sunshine. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate that. Shifra Morgan, I'm trying to read it from here. Have you heard about the Shawano cult in Shawano, Wisconsin?
Judging on how you read that, I'm going to guess you haven't heard about that.
It's like deja vu. Would love to talk. You guys are so amazing. I have not, but please reach out to us, cultstoconsciousness@gmail.com. Would love to chat with you more. Thank you so much for your contribution. And, oh, there's another one. I'm just bawling my eyes out. Oh, thank you for your voice. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to give you a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we was just talking to Rachel about this today. I told her, I was like, obviously you can be on the channel if you want to or if you don't want to, but there's going to be so many people that are inspired by your story and the strength that she has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's about time to go to your channel. Do we have any other super chats, Jonathan, that you want to put on the screen? I can't really reach my computer because normally I do that part. We have so many people watching, almost 1,000 people.
Hi,
Cults of
guys.
Consciousness,
Crystal's
you guys are amazing
here.
for getting the truth out there. Oh, yeah, it's Crystal.
Hi,
What's up, Crystal? Thank
We
you
love
so
her.
much. Yeah, she's great. Thank you guys for being here. We are going to switch over to Amanda's channel shortly. Just subscribed. Amazing. And remember, when the live stream ends, don't do anything. You will automatically be redirected to her channel where we're going to be talking about something totally different. Tell them what we're going to be talking about.
We're going to be talking about, I know we've kind of covered this on your channel, but I want to go more in depth because there's been some recent things that have happened I want to tell you guys about. But basically talking about how in these religious cults, I think even in the Mormon church this happens, where men can be praised for something that a woman is shamed for, or men can be promoted to be doing something that if a woman does, she will be shamed, blamed, and guilted for. The exact same things.
Yeah.
So we'll just be diving into that deeper, and also how I'll be talking more about some people that have filmed on Escaping Polygamy and have dealt with these things after leaving.
Perfect. It looks like there's another super sticker, Mark Lee. Thank you so much.
Oh, hi,
you
Mark.
are too kind. You know Mark?
Yeah, he's
Cool.
come over to my channel too.
Awesome. Well, I think that's about it for here. We're already 5 minutes late for your channel.
Oh, no.
So thank you guys again for being here. Remember to stay tuned and you'll be redirected. And if you don't want to listen to part 2, you can listen to it later, but just go subscribe to Amanda's channel anyways. Do you have any other final thoughts before we go?
I think that's it. Thanks for having me. And
All right.
we'll miss you guys for the 1 minute to get over to the other channel.
Yeah.
However long it takes.
We'll see you guys in a second.
Yeah, thank you,
And
guys.
if you want to support the channel, we have Patreon, patreon.com/cults-to-consciousness. Can't even say my own title. You can get some merch at cults-to-consciousness.com under the merch tab. We are fully booked for our C2C vacation, so you can't come hang out with me and Jessica unless you join the wait list and someone has to cancel. What else? I think that's it. Thanks for being here. And until next time, follow your highest excitement to be conscious and be well.
Bye.